This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas.
Welcome to the Sound of Gold. I'm so glad that you're here. And if you've been with us before, welcome back. And if you're new, welcome. I'm here in my home studio with my cat, Callie. And she likes to play piano too sometimes. My focus for this show is all about music. It is all about keeping music alive and focusing on musicians, music teachers, music schools, music venues, and anything else that has to do with music, which is so much. And other than being a radio show host, I am also a music teacher. I teach here in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, and I teach several different schools as well as private lessons. In addition to being a teacher, I am also a student. I continue to keep myself I'm not going to say educated, but keep myself fresh, right? Because the more I learn, the more I get to teach. And the more I learn about different perspectives and different ways of teaching how to play the piano, it not only makes me a better player, but it also makes me a better teacher, because then I get to show up for my students and always keep them not on their toes, but keep their interest. I will say that I do teach live. However, when I take lessons, I take online lessons because of my busy schedule. And that works for me. I learned so much from online classes. However, as a teacher, I'm going to say, it's better one-on-one. However, in the same paragraph, I'm going to say, it depends on your schedule. And if you really, really, really want to learn how to play an instrument, don't think you don't have the time for it. You make the time. And there are so many schools in your community, wherever you're tuning in from. Just Google music class and you will find a local venue. According to a busy schedule, I promise you, if you go online and look for online music classes, you will find that as well. And I am so excited today to invite my guest, Aaron Garner from Piano Marvel, to our show. And Aaron, are you with us?
I am. I can hear you.
Yes.
Hey, Lisa, how are you?
Good. Aaron, thank you so much for making the time today. I know you have a busy schedule, and I've been following you for years. I make mention of your program to my students. Not to take away from private lessons, but you are like in addition to private lessons, like when kids are on vacation or kids are traveling, everybody has an iPad and they're able to log on. And so I just am always recommending you. And there's so much to say about your program. Before we get to that part, though, you and I, we're both musicians. We didn't start out here. We didn't start out playing like we play or teaching the way we teach. I would love for our listeners, and myself included, to get a little bit of history of what's inspired you, where did you start, and how did you get to where you are now?
Well, Lisa, it's a very interesting story because I was not going to be a musician.
Okay.
My first love was sports. I loved football above all other sports, and that's all I thought about when I was young. But my mother, she wanted me to be the violinist of the family. She had 9 children, and each one of them was assigned a different instrument. She thought she was going to build an orchestra. And I
Wow.
think she should have built a baseball team.
Yeah.
So I didn't really like the violin because I just didn't have patience for it. And my brother, he was the pianist, but he rode a motorcycle. He loved his motorcycle, and we would have to drive like probably 25 miles from one city all the way to another city to get to my orchestra lesson. And I would put me on the back of his motorcycle and strap my violin to my back, and off we'd go. And I remember sitting there, and I just hated violin lessons. And then my brother actually died on a motorcycle accident when I was 10 years old.
So sorry.
And so my mom just kind of quit teaching and quit, she just went into a depression. And so I decided, I don't know why, but I decided to take up the piano.
Okay.
Remember, I found a John Thompson book, and it was sitting on the piano. And so I just went through it in like a day and started the next book, and I got bored. So I went into, I found a song for Elise, and I learned to play that one really fast and played it. And somebody's like, "Hey, you're amazing." So I'm like, "Okay, I'll try my next song." So the next song I tried was like Chopin's Revolutionary Etude. So I'm in sixth grade learning stupid hard songs and no business doing it at all. But I didn't have any guidance or any teacher. Kind of figured out how to read notes on my own. So I was picking up really bad habits, but of course I was going to be a football player, so it didn't matter. I was just doing this for fun. But about the time when I was in high school, I had decided by then I was going to be a neurosurgeon.
Okay.
So going into that, that was the career. But my mom's like, "Hey, you're getting pretty good at piano. Maybe we should put you in a piano competition." So I entered this competition, and I got destroyed. Like, it was awful. I played I think it was the Pathétique Sonata.
Okay. Oh, I love that piece.
The judge just said, "You know what? You have raw talent." I'm like, "I've got raw talent? Is that good?" I think it was just like, "You have no training whatsoever. This kid needs some help." But we couldn't afford lessons. And so the judge actually talked to one of the professors at the college there and said, "Would you be willing to pay or teach this student without any pay?" And he agreed to. We couldn't afford it. And so I think my mom did pay what she could afford whenever she could. But that year, I won first place at state in an MTNA competition. And so I'm like, wow, maybe I like this thing. And I eventually ended up feeling like, okay, music's my calling. I prayed about it and just felt this really strong impression that I needed to go into music. And I was really mad about that. Like, mostly is because I didn't think musicians, piano teachers make any money, or pianists. And so, and I grew up poor. I didn't want to be poor the rest of my life. So I think I wanted something really hard that I thought was hard, and something that would made a lot of money. And so that's my whole reason. I think I was going to be a neurosurgeon. But I did enjoy music, and it was fun. And I applied for a scholarship into a college, and I got a scholarship. And so I got to the college, and
where did you go? Did you go to some?
I was accepted at BYU Provo.
Okay.
And so when I got there, I started studying with the professors there, and one of them, my main professor, said, "Hey, I want you to read this music for me, this Bach." And I'm like, "Can I have a week?" He's like, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, I can't just read it. I gotta figure out the notes and put it together and memorize it, and then I'll play it for you next week." He's like, "You mean you can't read?" They forgot to ask me to sight read before they gave me the scholarship. And I'm like, "Yeah, I didn't really have a traditional training of how to get into music." And so they took the scholarship away from me the next year.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, oh. So immediately I'm like, my sight reading hurt me.
Yeah, I'd feel crushed. Oh man.
So I started hiding it, which you would do, obviously, if it hurts you. You
Right.
don't let people know you can't sight read. So I went back and I studied at a university where I first started because my professor there knew that I couldn't read. I mean, I won the competition, but couldn't read, no big deal, whatever. And so I studied with him, and he put me in a collegiate competition, and I won first place in the collegiate competition.
Oh
And so
wow.
now I am getting ready to do a master's degree in piano. And so I start applying for different degrees across the country. And one of the schools I applied to was the Music School of Eastman. They said, come out and audition for us. And so I went out there, got on a bus. It took 3 days
Oh my God.
sitting on a bus from one city all the way across the country. And I show up, and there's 400 people applying for 2 positions.
Oh no.
And so the first question they ask, because they knew I could play, but they're
Sure.
like, sight read this. And immediately I'm like, oh no. So they saw me attempt it, and they're like, next. So obviously I didn't get that position there. And so I applied for another school, and same thing happened. They said, sight read
Oh
this.
wow. Right.
Oh, and so I got accepted into a school at USC in California,
Okay.
and that was to do film scoring because I had a passion for
Sure. Yeah.
music.
I love
Right.
that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Well, another school in Colorado, CU Boulder, the audition said, come back in a couple of years when you can read better. Try again. And so the last school was UNC,
Okay.
Greeley, Colorado. And, I'm getting used to these questions. And so they're about to ask me to sight read.
Okay.
I could feel it coming. And I said, do you guys have a composition program? And they got all excited and completely forgot to ask me to sight read. And just sidetracked it. And they gave me a big scholarship, and I had a teaching assistantship there. And it was great. I got in, did my master's and doctorate there.
Very nice.
By then it was kind of too late, and they're like, well, we don't know why you can't read. And I tried to figure it out, but it became something that was a sore spot for me. And I'm like, when I teach, I am not going to have my students go through that same pain that I went through. I'm going to teach them how to read.
Sure.
And so I have become, part of Piano Marvel was born of that problem, where I was looking for a way to help students across the world learn to read better. Music literacy has been declining since 1960s. It's just been going down and down and down. And so I am looking for ways that we can turn music literacy around. And so one of the stories was when I didn't really tell you how I built Piano Marvel or how that came about, but I was in probably my master's.
Hold that thought. I want to get back to that. I want to ask, so when you were going through the journey out in the valley of playing and not sight reading, did you play by ear?
I had a very good ear, but I did not play by ear. I knew where every note lived on the grand staff. I just couldn't do it quickly.
Okay.
And so I would read the notes, figure it out. I could do rhythms, and I would listen to recordings, so I knew how it should sound. But I also was good at math, and so I figured out where the notes should go, and then I would just memorize them like that. So then I would just practice looking at my fingers, and my memory was really quick. I learned a piano concerto, 61-page piano concerto in like 21 days, memorized all million notes, whatever it is.
Right.
So my memory became very good because that's how I learned. My reading was very bad.
Okay. So your journey inspired you to, I'm assuming, and please interrupt me, to do research into like, hey, I can't be the only one going through this, even though when we're going through stuff, we kind of feel like the only one in the world that's dealing with it because it's so painful, emotionally painful on I think the self-esteem mostly. But I mean, fill in my blanks here. You took it upon yourself to help other people by learning from yourself what you weren't able to do.
Correct. Yeah. And that's, and basically that's where what inspired me to help other people was what I was bad at. And I thought, I want to help people, avoid that or make that their strength. And so that kind of became my strength, because many teachers who never struggled with reading just assume their students can figure it out or not. They've never gone through the painful process of learning how to read if you're not just gifted and just pick it up naturally. Right. So that became one of my strengths, because I could analyze. I've been there. I know what you're struggling with. And I know how to help you. And so when I was teaching at the university, my assignment was to teach music majors who needed to get, they wanted their degree in music so they could go teach, but they had to get a piano proficiency exam passed. And so they would have to play their scales and their chords. And one of the things that I wanted to do was make sure that they could read music when they left the school, and they could sit at a piano and play the alto part or whatever they needed, accompany a choir. And so I started teaching, and I really did not like the books that we were using to teach from. They were boring. They moved too quickly. They didn't produce good sight readers. And I thought, so I started looking at Randy Faber's stuff and Bastian and Hal Leonard and these books. And I'm like, I'm going to just start grabbing books and having them read easy stuff that's really fun. And I'd have them check the books out. They never did it. They're like, And so I was pulling my hair out thinking, how do I get you guys to read? Like, let me just play the scale and pass this class and get it over with. There were some technologies that were coming out that were really cool. Music Ace was one I stumbled across that showed, there was like a rhythm game on there where you'd press the space bar. Okay. This goes way back. You'd press the space bar and get your timing, and you'd get like scored off if your timing was wrong. And I thought, that's really cool. But is there a way to put notes behind it so you could play the notes and show you which ones you got right and which ones you got wrong, and give you a score and make it like a video game type idea? Nobody had done it before, and the technology didn't even exist. And so I approached a company and I said, how much would this cost? Remember, I'm a grad student right now, master's student. And I think the first thing they said was, well, we'll take a look at it for $200,000. Oh, there's no way a grad student can pay for something like that. I'll let some big company handle that. And so I went through my master's student and then my doctorate. And then after that, I was teaching, and I decided to come back to it. I'm like, I saw a program that was doing something similar, and I thought, they're getting close. Maybe I'll ask them if they would be willing to. And they said, your idea's good, but there is no market for pianists and piano teachers.
That hurts.
That got me mad, because there is a market. It's my world. They're like, there's just piano teachers everywhere. It's hard to market to them and their students. So they said no. So I got mad. My wife and I decided to take a trip back to another company, and we asked them, is this possible for you guys to develop this? You guys have done some other things in the music realm.
Sure.
This is something new. And they said, well, we think we might be able to do this. It'll be about $600,000.
Ouch.
And so I don't know what was going through my wife's mind, but she's sitting next to me. And if I remember correctly, I looked at him and I said, we'll start next month. I'll have the money. And I don't know if she swallowed her tongue and said, what are we going to do, sell a kid? Like, how are we going to finance this thing? But she was very, very supportive, and she's like, okay, I guess we're doing this. So we went home, and I started talking to friends, And I told them the business idea, and they're like, you need to put this down on paper and make a business proposal. And so I went through all that research and put together a proposal, and I came up with $600,000.
Wonderful.
And we went ahead and, it's $19 million later is what it's cost us now. I didn't know what I was getting into, but I still had a passion to build this thing. And it was, I did not know what I was getting into when I did it, but I never gave up because I saw a vision. And I think, it's been really fun to see it grow and to have the ability to dream something up. And now we have a 30 person development team or I think 17 full-time developers where we can dream something up and have them go build it. And it's really fun to see that. And I have a passion and a dream that we can have everybody on this planet be literate in music.
I love that. I love that idea. I have so many questions for you. To start out though, for our listeners out there, can you how would I say this? Will you please share with us, if you were the student logging on to Piano Marvel, what could you expect? Like if you're the student, what could you expect in the website? What would be like, do you have different programs? Do you have like time values? Do you have note reading? Do you have different levels? Again, a lot of our listeners out there.
You're talking about from the person who's never used Piano Marvel, what does it do?
Yes.
I have people ask me that question all the time. It's the one question that I have the hardest time. Like you would think I would be able to just fill it out. This is what Piano Marvel is. This is what it does. It is so hard because we're a company that innovates so quickly on building new ideas to help learning to play the piano, that it's branching off into so many things that it does. It's hard to say this is what it does.
Okay.
So now what I focus on is the sight reading.
Okay. Now, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So if somebody says, what does Piano Marvel do? I say, well, it gives you feedback, instant feedback of an assessment, which notes you played right and which ones you did wrong. But we built something called the SASR. It's the Standard Assessment of Sight Reading, which we came out with the idea in 2009 and then started marketing it. The idea was you could sit down and take a test, play a song, and it would grade you and tell you what your score is and decide if you could go to a harder song and then a harder song, and it would push you to your limit. And at that limit, it would tell you your sight reading score is this, specifically a concrete sight reading score, which nobody's ever done before.
Okay.
Because I'll go into a room of musicians and I'll say, how many of you sight read well? How many of you are bad at sight reading? And half the time, the people who said, I'm bad at sight reading are better than the ones who said they're good at sight reading. Because there's no concrete assessment of saying, here's how well I read. And so that's what the SASR, Standard Assessment of Sight Reading, was designed to do, is to say any pianist in the world could sit down, take the test, and it would tell them from 100 to 1900 what their sight reading score is. So if somebody came into a college and said, you need to be at a 900, you can actually go in and just practice your reading in Piano Marvel until you get up to 900, then you're ready to go in and audition for that school. And so a lot of schools are actually taking the SASR, the Standard Assessment of Sight Reading, and saying, we expect you to be at this level before you can come in. Or when we'll place you in a class depending on your SASR score. So that's one of the things that we've done with Piano Marvel. The other thing we've done is imagine a book. Like, let's say you have a piano book and you've got song you're playing, Mary Had a Little Lamb, learning how to do that. And then you go to the next song, you play that. What typically happens, and what I had done for my students, is I would assign them 2, 3, 4 songs, and I'd say, go home, practice them, come back, and then I'll listen to them. If they're good enough, I will sign it.
Okay.
I'll give you a smiley face, and I'll write your name on it, or initial or something, and then we'll move on to the next song, listen to that, and I would pass it off.
Right.
The computer pass it off for them. And so, in fact, a computer can tell you if you've missed the note, if you've missed the rhythm. And this is where I was spending like 80% of my time spoon-feeding students, saying, here's the rhythm. No, let me help you with that. Oh, here's the wrong notes. Oh, this is wrong. That's wrong. 80% of your time is just getting into their fingers. And then the fun begins. Once they get, let's say they're playing the song. Now, a piano teacher, it takes 80% of your time just to get to that point, and then the fun begins to make it exciting. And so I thought, well, if I can get a computer to do what it does best, which is sit there and babysit and give feedback, and it can sit and listen without getting tired, and then I can take that 20% of making it musical,
Sure.
and I can do that full time. That's kind of what I had dreamt, is kind of separate the sitting and watching students practice from the musicality, what humans do best, the artistry part of it.
Oh, I love that. We are live. There are listeners out there that are watching us, and then there are listeners out there that are just listening. So for those listeners out there that are just listening, how can they reach your program? How can they find you quickly?
Okay, go to pianomarvel.com, and everything should be self-explanatory. That's all they have to do. pianomarvel.com on the website, and you can try a free account. Everything is written on there. There's videos that explain it all. It's pretty self-explanatory. If you're interested in learning piano, then get on there. There's even a contact us at pianomarvel.com email. Just send an email to contact us at pianomarvel.com. We have a great staff that will help. If you have any technical problems or difficulties, that's one thing really nice about our company. We have Matt, Suzette, Josh. We've got a team that will help anybody who asks, hey, I'm trying this on my computer, I'm trying it on my smartphone, and I have this problem, or I've got this question. Even stuff like fingering, like I don't know how to do this fingering, and we will, our team will help you like get through any of these questions that you have. So it's a great tech support and support for any theory questions or anything you have.
Awesome. Thank you. So I want to talk a little bit more. We mentioned earlier, or we had a conversation earlier about literacy. And I had actually a few piano students earlier today. And one of my older piano students, we're working, and for our listeners out there, if you play piano, you'll know there's the treble clef, the bass clef, the right hand, the left hand. And if you play a different instrument, it's a little different, but we're focusing on the piano. So with my older student, and I try and use analogies, and I try and be silly. And so what I've said to all of my students, and I mean no disrespect to anybody, again, I'm being silly. Right hand, if you write with your right hand, it's easy to read the music and play. Playing with the left hand, even for left-hand writers, the left hand is the slower child, is what I say. And so we need to give it a little bit more attention, a little bit more love, because it learns just a little bit slower, and that's okay. We're just going to love that left hand a little bit more so it can learn to play. Now, I was working with my student today, and it somehow, like, I had this aha moment, and I thought, okay, first of all, and this wasn't just today, this has been my thing this past year. Let's focus first on the left hand with reading music, because the left hand takes longer. Let's give it that attention first, because the right hand, once it knows, and it's just easier. So the brain has some way of taking a longer time to understand reading the notes. It's almost like a coordination, and I'm wanting to understand and tap into this more. And maybe with your research, you can share a little bit with our listeners, like that left hand learning to play the piano, no matter who it is, it's the slower child. And it's just the eye-hand coordination. It just takes longer. What can you tell us about your studies?
Oh, I love this because I've spent so many years developing right hand and left hand coordination and hand together coordination, and have gone through debates with many teachers on the different theories out there. Piano marble is really designed well to help learn the coordination between the hands.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever heard this before, but they call the piano the genius instrument.
Okay. I love that.
Our brains are set up into two cortexes, right? So you've got the right and the left hemisphere. And these are combined in the middle by this highway of information that goes back and forth, training right and left. And you're doing this with music all the time, and it's extremely complex. Well, this corpus callosum is what's called the highway in between these two hemispheres. Did you know that studying an instrument is by far the best way to develop the corpus callosum? They haven't found any other thing that can develop it as fast and efficiently as studying an instrument, and particularly the piano, because of the complexity.
Sure.
In most other instruments, you've got one note and you've got your fingers in one place and you just play along, and it's very difficult. But when you combine that to piano, where your hands play not just one place, but can play anywhere
across the
entire keyboard, it expands the complexity enormously. And so one day I was at a middle school, and my students are actually they were calling the kids with straight A's to come out, and they're like, all right, all the kids with the straight A's come out. And they name one kid. And I'm like, hey, that kid's my piano student. And they call the next kid. I'm like, that kid's my piano student. The next one's my piano student. Like 16 of the kids, 9 of them were my piano students. I'm like, wow, that's really interesting. And they were
very nice.
Like the straight A students. And I thought, either piano makes you smart, or only smart kids can do piano. I don't know. I don't know which is true, but it does develop the brain, especially piano, so well that I feel like everybody on the planet should really study it for whatever they go into. It's going to help you with everything, your brain development.
Yes, absolutely.
It's a phenomenal thing, and piano marble goes into like studying the left hand and the right hand and systematically putting those things together so that it doesn't feel like this monumental task. We have something that we invented called the learn mode, where you go in and you slowly learn one hand at a time, where you get, and in just one section.
Sure.
And it shows you the red and green notes, and then it gives you a score, and then you just do it again and again until you get it. And all teachers tell their students, practice slow, because if you practice slow, you will learn fast. Do students listen? No. Why don't students listen? Because they're impatient. They don't want to go slow. It's boring. It's hard. It takes too much. But if they would practice slow, if they were disciplined to go slow and get it right, they would learn so much faster. Piano marble is designed to do that in tiny sections, where it rewards you when you get 100%. Then you move up a little faster, and then a little faster, and then pretty soon you have this section done really well with one hand. You do the same thing with the other hand, and then you put them together. And it's designed for professional practicing. That takes usually college students like 4 years to learn how to practice professionally. It tricks them into learning right off the bat with all this research that we put into this and the technology that we built to support it. It's been a very, very fun project.
A couple of things I want to ask and want to mention. I've been teaching over 20 years, and I've been playing since I was 5. And so this is my life. I mean, I live and breathe I mean, this is what I love to do. I love to play. I love to teach. And so, and even myself, I'm a student as well. I still like to take lessons, as you heard earlier. I still love to learn. Being a teacher, when I'm with my students, and I remind myself of this when I get to play student as well, when things get frustrating, stop, kind of take a break, and look at it from a different perspective, and look at it like problem solving. Like, figure it out. Like, don't get frustrated with it. Just like stop and be like, all right, let's take another approach at this. And I love Piano Marvel. It's very colorful and very interactive, and it works at each person's level. So you don't have to feel like, oh, I'm just a beginner or I'm so advanced. It just works where you're at. So there's nobody there to judge you, kind of like, other than yourself. So for listeners out there, you had mentioned pianomarvel.com is easy to connect with. And I also wanted to mention that I know as a piano teacher, I have students that lots of times pick hard pieces. And they were like, oh, well, I want to learn this piece. And I'll say, okay, well, let's find you an easier version to learn from. And they're like, well, how long is it going to take me to learn it? So with Piano Marvel and with your teachings, what words of wisdom can you share with our listeners as far as how long it would take a piece to learn? And yes, start with an easier version, not the harder version.
Yeah, that's actually very tricky. I don't know if Piano Marvel has the answer for that. And that's one reason that having a piano teacher is super, super valuable, because the piano teacher can assess a student and say, this piece fits your personality, and I know your ability too. This song fits your personality too, but it will kill you. And you will quit music, even if it's their favorite song in the world. Like it's their pop song that they love. And you're like, I've seen students do it before. They're going to try it and it's going to kill them. They're going to quit. You have to get the right level with that student, and you have to get the right piece for the student that's going to keep them motivated. That's maybe one of the hardest things about being a teacher, is just like finding the right piece and that'll fit with students. And there's so many pieces out there that's dangerous to learn. As far as how long it takes a person to learn, that can also be very tricky. I talked about the learn method, that learn thing. Mm-hmm. It has a section in Piano Marvel where you can start. Let's say you're learning Furley's. Okay, the first part it'll say, okay, learn that left hand. We're going to start there, and it gives you a percentage completion when you finish it. It says you are now 3% complete learning the song. So if you spent 5 minutes doing that, you can do the math and say, oh, I'll be done by the end of next week. And so it does help you kind of get a feel for, wow, I'm learning this faster than I thought I would, because it breaks it up into learning sections.
Sure.
What I noticed it doesn't do is, like, sometimes students get stuck on that part here, and they'll spend for 40 minutes trying to figure out that pattern in their hand, and they're like, I just can't coordinate my hand. And then they realize once they get it, the rest of the song is just a repeat of similar patterns.
Sure.
And so then they feel like, oh, it took me, I only got 3% of the way done. It took me 40 minutes. It's going to take me forever. But they don't realize what's coming up next in the song is a lot of repetition. So even that can be misleading too. So then you need a piano teacher to say, let me show you what's coming up in the future, so you can, feel that motivation if you see a student slipping in that motivation. And so I would highly recommend piano teacher or a parent who can be that guide and that motivation, and you got to stick to it, because learning piano is hard. And even with Piano Marvel that makes it fun, well, guess what? Right. It's still hard.
It's still work. Yeah.
It's the genius instrument. And why it's so good on your brain is because it's hard. It's not like watching Netflix, which is really easy. and that's what everybody does. And so we're just getting stupider. So,
well, we have a few more minutes. I want to ask. Okay, I'm going to refer to my approach, and then you can help me with this. So when I teach, I focus on, let's say one of my students is working on a hard piece and it's a 5-page piece. I like to focus on chunking, right? So, all right. So let's say Bobby knows how to play the beginning, like he doesn't even need the sheet music anymore. So I'll say, all right, let's kind of leave that alone. And so let's go to different areas of the song. If you have, 10 minutes a day, go sit at the piano and pick an area of chunking just to practice out that song, almost like taking a puzzle apart. Just work on puzzle pieces, which I call chunking, which in the music world is called chunking. So, but leave the beginning alone, because you already know that. And the more you play the beginning and you're so good at it, you're not going to want to learn the rest of the song, because you're just going to get so frustrated because it's going to take longer than the rest. So how does Piano Marvel come along and say, okay, the beginning, you've got the beginning, let's focus on like your challenging measures? Does it have a way, because it's a computer, it's not the teacher, like you mentioned. It's always
in fact, this is what the Piano Marvel is designed to do, is the chunking. We call it slicing. So slicing, you go into a chop slicing or a min slicing, and it does that. It takes every piece, and once you finish it, it goes to the next section and then the next section. So you're not just wasting time only working on the part you're good at. Because you've already got your gold star on that one. And then it does a review. So it comes back to those pieces and putting them all together. So it's really, really amazing how, I would say, here's what piano teachers have told me. If you're learning a piece, this helps you learn it 4 to 5 times faster than if you don't have that chunking system that Piano Marvel has with the interactive assessment. And so once you get the golden star, or that golden, you get 100%, and it gives you a little star that's gold. Once you get that, then you move on to the next thing. That keeps you from just sticking around, just doing the same thing over and over, and you move on to the next part.
Right. And that's what I tell my students. I'm like, there's a difference between practice and performance. If you're going to practice, you're practicing parts of the song. You don't always want to sit at the piano and just play beginning to the part where you get frustrated and then you're like, all right, I'm done for today. You want to focus on the different areas that are more challenging to smooth them out. And I've done some studying myself where they've said, and please, I'm open to your feedback, but some of the studying I've done is your brain doesn't, when you're chunking and when you're like going to page 5 and then jumping to page 3, your brain is not looking for the order of it. Like you can memorize the beginning, and in your mind you might know how a popular song goes that you're playing, but when you're practicing it, your brain doesn't need to know that, because it's, am I making sense? Could you elaborate on that?
To me, because I've spent thousands and thousands of hours practicing and teaching, and so I understand, the mechanics that go behind it. What we try to do with Piano Marvel is we take all that research and we build it in so you don't have to know all the research. It just feeds you the next thing in the order that makes your body learn the song, so that when you finish through this learning mode, you can go through and play through the song seamlessly without any problem. It's fascinating to like all the research that goes behind the scenes inside of Piano Marvel. Yeah.
I bet. And so it's pianomarvel.com. And what I also love about your program is that you don't need a book. You don't need paper. As a music teacher, I have so many songs and so many books that, I'm thankful for them, but it takes up space. So
I personally do like the paper. I usually print the songs that I'm learning.
I do too.
Which we do allow the printing of music.
Okay.
Except for on pop songs, you have to actually pay extra for the pop songs, because we have a contract with with Leonard and Alfred and all the music publishers.
Okay. So we have, again, just a couple of minutes left. Are there any words or any advice or short story that you'd like to share with our listeners that have been with us today, learning more about Piano Marvel?
I do have something to ask. Okay. And I applaud you because you are a music advocate. Music helps our mind, our bodies, every career we go into. Music just builds us, and it's enjoyable. It's hard. And so sometimes it's not funded in schools. They'll cut the music program, not understanding what they're doing. So anybody who's listening, please be a music advocate and help others understand how powerful that studying music really is in every aspect of our life.
It's so true, and it develops so many disciplinary. How would you say it? It just helps form so much in other areas of our life, like you said, and discipline is one of them. It just helps structure your thinking, your way of being, and as a musician, it's just I don't know why anybody wouldn't want to learn a music instrument, especially piano, because it's black and white. It's easy to look at. It's not like a guitar where you get like neck creeps, and a violin where your neck is kind of like tilted. So it's just the piano. If I could be partial, it's the piano to learn on, as you know. Aaron, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thanks for inviting me, Lisa.
Yeah, and I will continue to rave about Piano Marvel and share that with my students. And
thank you.
I think I might take a gander back into it myself and
go get your sight reading test. See what your sight reading score is.
Yeah, I might get a little bit of a complex, but
this year I'm going to take it every single week, and I'm going to pass 1200 this year. That's my goal.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna go on there, and I might, like I said, I might.
Yeah, if you pass 1200 your first day, then just know you're better than me.
Well, I don't know about that, but thank you, Aaron, and we'll keep in touch. And if there's anything else you want to share with me, just send me an email, and I'll be more than happy to help promote and to keep you guys, to keep all musicians and all music alive. That's my purpose here, is that we got to keep this going, because this is what's real, not AI, not AI is great for a lot of things, I guess, but you can't, you can have the instrument, but without the human being bringing it to life, there's no life in it.
And it doesn't feed the soul to just watch a computer work. What feeds the soul is us developing ourselves and watching our children develop their talents.
Yes, it's an investment that keeps on giving.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Aaron.
Thank you.
Well, take care.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for tuning in today. And we had Aaron Garner on from Piano Marvel, pianomarvel.com. Check it out. It is a great program. From what I remember, there was a 30-day free trial to check out and kind of see what it's all about. And no matter where you are in the world, you can find it online. And in the meantime, I'm going to play a little bit here. And just want to remind you that the reason I do this again is help me keep music alive, because music is beautiful. It's all around us. I mean, really, sound is vibration, it's energy, and we all vibrate from energy. The more we tap into sound and vibration, the higher our well-being is. I look forward to next week. week's show, tune in so you can find out who my guest is. I'll leave that for next week. Thank you for being here with me today. I'm glad you are here.